Southampton City Council have gathered together a group most associated with the history of the city to produce a book on World War II called Bloody but Unbowed. However, one of the areas of concern is the section on the Hodsoll Report. The authors have chosen to reopen perhaps the greatest controversy in the history of Southampton during World War II, when the civic leaders were blamed in a report by Wing Commander Hodsoll for the chaos during the Blitz of Southampton in 1940. By re-examining the city archives, the authors claim that the evidence is equivocal, which lends their support to the description in the current Southampton City Council Renaissance Vision prospectus, which gives them a clean bill of health and goes further. The prospectus says that it was the civic leaders who built our city parks and civic centre, through to the investors who enabled the development of the docks and infrastructure that have supported the city's growth through the 20th and early 21st centuries and is still continuing. However, the authors are guilty of making a fundamental error, common amongst amateur historians, and seeing the events of the Southampton Blitz through rose-tinted glasses. This view conflicts with the well-established and much-respected Mass Observation Unit, who gathered evidence at the time which substantially supports the Hodsoll view. The following is an extract from the Mass Observation Report that contradicts the author's account. A group of RAF officers virtually took over control of Central Hall, the main evacuation depot. They did good work and produced considerable order out of considerable chaos. The RAF so acted to express their solidarity with stricken civilians, as well as to show that they were absolutely disgusted with the official handling of the evacuation. 2 investigators subsequently spent the evening with these officers and heard the whole story in detail. The airmen deeply criticized a breakdown, in their view, of this and other elementary systems in Southampton, despite its by now substantial experience of bomb attack. They were scathing about the leadership of the city as a whole. They considered that some of the top civil and civic servants had either panicked or failed by default to meet the needs of the crisis. Some, they said, refused even to see it as a crisis. These had quit intellectually, some of them actually, physically. Those who stayed, regardless of risk, or in blissful confidence of better nights to come, did feel a sense of superiority over those who went. For a while, they deemed themselves the equals of any brave folk on earth. Why not, when their neighbours fled? Yet the Bishop of Winchester apparently found little to distinguish between one lot and the other. Dr. Garbett, later Archbishop of Canterbury, came by car to Southampton on the 2nd of December to find his people broken in spirit, with everyone who can do so leaving the town. Everywhere he saw them with packages, suitcases, kitchenware, kids' toys, struggling to get anywhere out of Southampton. He declared flatly, for the time, morale has collapsed. I went from parish to parish and everywhere there was fear. It was not until 30 years later that the city's leading trekker was publicly identified, though it was privately a matter of harsh comment at the time. By no means only from the RAF Public Record Office war files then taken off the secret list included a report mentioning, officially, that the highest political local, the mayor, who died in 1965, left his key post around 3 p.m. each afternoon, to trek to his rural hideout. The next getaway train for him was not until after dark. He would not risk staying that late. At the same time, the chief constable, whose headquarters in the civic centre was twice hit on the 23rd of November, but remained in action there until later, was himself hurt the second night of the Blitz, leaving an experienced but elderly deputy in charge. Knocked down by a vehicle in the early hours of the morning, he never returned to full duty at the soon regrouped police base in the Polygon Hotel. He retired the following year. The third key man, and usually the most important, in any normal provincial setup was, and is, the town clerk, the highest officer of the local authority, answerable directly to the mayor, but he was later described as moving about in a sort of coma. Dressed in a mackintosh, he went wandering from group to group in gloomy inactivity when he was supposed to be making decisions over a large range of blitz and post-blitz problems. These personal descriptions are not just ours, but those of the highest national officer concerned, the Inspector General of Air Raid Precautions. In part because he was infuriated by our reports, the Minister of Home Security had sent his top man down to check, having left it primarily to the locals hitherto, apparently accepting their reassuring views. The Inspector General of Air Raid Precautions was another man with an RAF background, that pioneer of precautions Wing Commander J. Hodsoll, later knighted, for his work in this post. He had the reputation of being an unflinchingly honest man, a martinet. His visit led to investigation and even intervention by the regional commissioner, who had powers to override local authority, though this high officer was also strongly criticized for failing to go, or to send his deputy at once to help bolster up Southampton's wavering systems of controls. The regional commissioner soon reported that the mayor's emergency committee, now in charge, was indeed inadequate to the occasion. His deputy commissioner considered there was virtually no civic organization functioning effectively. Various departments of the city authority had lost touch with each other, continuing uncoordinated in crisis. Those working down nearer the roots did not at once recognize the degree of high-level collapse. But one saw it everywhere, in effect. Like tens of thousands of citizens inextricably, immediately, involved, an observer could at first barely distinguish between dislocation due to the Blitz or to subsequent incompetence in higher response. There was too little time and too much pressure to make such analysis profitable, even if possible, on the spot. Looking down, though, Inspector General Hodsoll saw clearly. He wrote after his 5 December visit that there was no outstanding personality in Southampton's local government at all. He wrote after his 5 December visit that there was no outstanding personality in Southampton's local government at all. No authority or organization could hope to offset all the immediate effects of massive air attack. Recovery could only be a matter of degree and time. No one could help much of what actually occurred on bomb impact. What mattered to nearly everyone individually as well as to the national effort as a whole was the scale and speed of action taken to overcome, or at least soften, the immediate effects. The slow pain of so many post-Blitz situations has been largely obscured by a record which seldom shows the prolongation in time of the problems which followed the initial disaster. Southampton provided a fair example. The greatest failure here was a failure in communication. This was not a matter of pretentious exhortation or so-called a morale boosting, but, more simply, direct messages on matters of practical urgency. The first-hand evidence of the RAF officers as well as the Bishop of Winchester is unimpeachable and suggests that the authors are trying to rewrite history to cover up the role of the civic leaders, which continues to cause embarrassment for their publishers, Southampton City Council.